You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. Living the life you want is today's focus. That's the purpose for a business, I believe. And part of your life, a big part of your life, is learning how to succeed in love and in life. You could be a success in business, but if you're not succeeding in love and in life, what's the point? So that's my approach to business. And today's guest is going to help us dial in this idea of succeeding in love and in life. I'm very privileged to speak with Larry Michel, also known as the Love Shepherd, founder of the School of Genetic Energetics, master ERP, relationship coach, speaker, producer, author, and host of the Love Matters podcast. Larry is helping people break free of stories and to experience all the benefits of true love. Larry Michel, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. It's great to be here.
You were joining us from the left coast or the west coast, depending on your perspective. And so it's great to have you on the show and talk about this idea of how to succeed in love and in life. Your website is the4answers.com. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you interested in this concept of succeeding in love and in life.
Oh, my goodness. Well, let's see. You'd have to go back to my early childhood for all of that. And since this show is a little bit shorter than that whole length of time, you get the advanced Reader's Digest version for those that still know what Reader's Digest is.
Yeah, perfect.
But, essentially, since I was a little kid, I was starving for, like most kids are, for love, for affection, and wanted to understand it, wanted to have it. Wanted to figure out how to get it, went from relationships to marriages to you name it. And at a very, very early age, got involved in psychology and a variety of different kinds of works around personal development, started at 14, really, with T groups way, way, way back. And I just have stayed with that through my life, through a whole variety of different occupations that when I look back on them now, they all had to do with how to improve the human condition, which at the end of the day is how to connect deeper and more authentically with others. And of course, there's tons of trials and tribulations that went through that whole process, like tons of them. And so there's the work. I went to school to be a psychologist, studied social anthropology and statistics, and had a field day with it, and did a lot of work in that field, consulting, coaching, working with individuals, working with businesses for decades. And then about almost 14, 15 years ago, I was introduced to a science that was mind-boggling to me because it found for me the core dynamics that impact relationships, that make a difference as to whether we can succeed easily or not at a stage and a speed that I had never seen before. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we come to have the 4 Answers website and the science of genetic energetics.
Very interesting. So, I want to find out exactly what that science is of genetic energetics. First, going back and unpacking your introduction, you're also known as the Love Shepherd. What does that mean, and how did that come to be attributed to Mr. Larry Michel?
Well, that's actually a playa name. That's so it's a. It's a name that was given to me attending, a very major event, and it just stuck with me for years. But that's, it's what I've been doing forever. Really, is shepherding in love, if I look at it for other people. Of course, I try to do it for myself as much as possible, and that's so I'm the guinea pig. I'm the major guinea pig on what works and what doesn't. Right, and then have worked with clients for a couple decades now. Yeah. So, and the focus is always to help people get back to love, whether it's in a partnership with a beloved, with their children, or even in business. Because the reality is if we don't have a great connection with ourselves in terms of self-love, and we don't appreciate how people show up for us, then it's just a matter of manipulation and a lot of construction of things that just aren't real at the end of the day. And it's how people end up being disappointed and frustrated and upset and resentful and shaming and in judgment, and you name it. All of these things which keep us away from love.
So all of that is really flowing from not being authentic, not making the deep connections with people, and basically living in a false world of manipulation and shadows rather than substance.
To your point, I have a little bit difficulty saying false, because what's true and false these days? But, it is a world that is, when you're constructing something and it's not based on what's happening in this present, like right now, then it is, it's a false. It's not false. It's not real. What's real is what's happening right now. You and I are talking right now. This is real time. This is real. Right. I'm not projecting about what you're going to say in 10 minutes. I'm not pissed off at you for what you said 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know you 2 weeks ago. Right. So I'm not making things up. We're just having an experience that's very real right now. And if I bring to this experience a whole bunch of other crap that's going on in my life, and, I usually use worse words than that, but if I bring to the experience all of the intense things that are going on. My dog's got fleas. My kids need this. I'm not sure whether I'm going to have my job next week. I'm not making enough money. All the stuff. If I bring that with me, then you and I don't have a very good experience, because I got all that crap going on. Now, if I can let go of it just to be present with you, then I get to connect with you, and you and I get to connect with listeners at a whole different level. And this is what we need to be doing in our relationships, no matter who they're with, and especially our beloveds, and especially our children. And if we want to succeed in business, really succeed in business, then that deep connection is the longest, most secure, most lucrative business direction to go. The rest of them at some point or another will falter, will become painful, and, will be restrictive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you are the founder of the School of Genetic Energetics. Tell us about that and about the science behind genetic energetics.
So 15 years ago, I was introduced to this science. I was in a really terrible, not a terrible relationship. I was in a relationship that wasn't working out. It was collapsing. And I was trying to do everything to fix it. Going to therapists, going to coaches, studying, reading books, you name it. When we want something and we want it badly, we'll go to the ends of the world to try and fix things often. Sure. But relationships are one of those things that you can't quote unquote fix another person, right? You can just learn and discover about yourself, and then be discerning and find out, does this really support one or the other, or both of us, hopefully both of us. And I was in one of those relationships where it just wasn't working. I wasn't in an event. I was at an event. I had tried pretty much everything. And on the last day of the event, this guy gets up and says, "Hey, I can tell you something about your relationship that no one else has told you, and it's going to help you." I'm going, all right. Hey, I've tried everything else. Why not? So I sit down with him, and the first thing he asked me for is 2 questions that everybody that's listening to this are going to want to know about, because we're going to give them kind of a gift at the end here. But the questions he asked me, he says, "When's your birth date, and when is your biological mother's birth date?" And then he asked me the same thing from my ex-girlfriend. And immediately I went, "Oh, astrology. No. I've done astrology. I find it's really interesting." And it gave me some insights, but that didn't help me. He says, no, this is not astrology. I apologize for the birthday thing. It's how we work. It's astronomy and quantum physics, but this is this is our unique approach to get the information. I went, okay, whatever. So I give it to him, and he proceeds to tell me some things about the relationship that were dead on accurate. Like I went, wow, that's pretty good. And we've all had people that we've all done typologies and character personality assessments and astrology and numerology and all that kind of stuff. And we always find things that go, yeah, that's me. And then something else that goes, no, that's not me. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And in this case, he was just nailing it, one after another, telling me these different things with the relationship. And I went, wow, that's totally accurate. And then he told me some things about myself that literally in the matter of moments, Ralph, had me turn around and let go of years of shame. Because I had, over the years had a number of businesses and left them thinking that, I just left them to go do something else. And when I look back on it, I thought it was this huge failure. And people would ask me, so what happened to that business? Why'd you leave that one? And I didn't really understand why, other than I thought, well, I guess I just can't keep a business running. And what I discovered about myself is I have this characteristic that's genetically designed, that has me very creative and very interested in building businesses, but I don't like to run them. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And there are people out there that love to run businesses. I'm not one of them.
Right.
But I love to create them. And so it said, if you have a back office, if you have a team, then you can do great. And the businesses that I did best with are the ones that I had big teams. The ones that were most challenging for me were the ones that I'd start up, and they were phenomenal, but then I had to operate them, and I go, oh God. Yeah. I just didn't get out of bed in the morning excited. The bottom line to all that, though, is that when I understood that that was part of my genetic makeup, instead of shaming myself, I could look back at it and go, that makes perfect sense. If I'm going to start a business, I need to get a team to make it work. If I have a phenomenal idea and I want to bring it to market, then get support and people, and don't try and do it all yourself, because if you do, the chances are eventually you'll get exhausted and want nothing to do with it. And, that's sound advice. And I looked at that and I went, okay, this is very interesting. To move this thing forward quickly, though, the story, when I got this information from the gentleman, he had taken over the business from the original creator. It was designed, it was built 40 years ago, and the gentleman who built it had passed away. So he wanted help. And he asked me if I would come in and help him market and take his product to market. And I said, I would, but I need to check it out, because I had been taking products to markets for a number of years for people. And I never, ever took a product to market that wasn't efficacious, meaning it had to be real, right? It had to be sound, or I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get involved in it, and I didn't want to tarnish my name or reputation with it or any of that. And so he said, fine, check it out. I'll even pay you. You can take time and figure out everything you need to do. So I spent 2 years interviewing couples, and literally more than 1,000 couples. And it was never wrong. The information it gave me was never wrong. And I went, okay. So that being the case, I got very involved with the company, and I had something very surprising happen. Now, I have to mention that the company's name originally was called Match Matrix. Their focus was, how do you find the perfect match? Mm-hmm. They were like, this is the time when eHarmony and Match.com and all these companies were really busy. You weren't swiping left and right back then. Yep. And he says, how do you find the perfect match? And the man who created this thing originally, he got involved doing this because he went through 4 divorces, and he figured, I'm just not getting it. Something else is going on. And he put this thing together, which was a miraculous adventure and endeavor. The point is that it started out as a matchmaking company. And when I was doing all this research, I was talking to a lot of couples, individuals and couples, but mostly couples. That's who I was interested in. And about a year into my research, I started to get emails back, not a lot, but a few every once in a while. And they go, thank you. And I go, thank you for what? And they say, thank you because you saved our marriage.
Wow.
You restored my relationship with my kids. I'm talking to my mom again. I haven't talked to her for 15 years. And I'm going, wow, this isn't just about matchmaking. This is about life. This is about connecting with people in general. And so about 8-9 years ago now, I actually ended up buying the company because I wanted to take it I didn't want to take it away from matchmaking, but I wanted to expand it out into the world of love. Right? And how do we identify love? How do we work with love? How do we be loving? And the reason why this was such a powerful tool is that in all my years of work as a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor, I had never seen anything that could break through people's stories as quickly as this could and bring us to the present. So we know who Eckhart Tolle is, right? He speaks about now, the power of now. And it's critically important. And I remember when I first read that, I went, wow, this is amazing. How do I get there? He's telling me, but how do I really get to the now? And I realized the reason why I couldn't get to it is I had all this crap in the way. I had all these stories. I had all these beliefs that I wasn't good enough. Someone else wasn't good enough. I was pissed off at someone. I had some resentment. I was full of judgment. All of these various different things that get in the way of being present and being loving. And what genetic energetics did is provide me an insight that at the core dynamics of our relationships allowed me to see what influences were going on there that were impacting those relationships. And when I had that, I had a tool that changed everything.
Wow.
I mean, it really changed everything. And since then, now we've had, over 1 million people have run reports in 190 countries around the world. And it's very exciting to me. We ran your report instantly right before the show.
That's right. We did. We did. And I've got the results here in my email. I'm not sure what they mean yet, but you could probably explain that to me if it's not too revealing.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to explain it in a way that makes the most sense for people.
Okay.
So one of the things you got when you got your report is it has 4 lifestyle traits. And the lifestyle traits are the kind of the cornerstones. They have to do with communication. They have to do with how we run our lives and how we process information. They have to do with money, and they have to do with sex.
Okay.
So those are kind of like 4 key areas that you really want to have some understanding of. And the very first one is called communication style. Now, I'll use you and I as an example, and this way everybody should be able to relate to it. There are 2 communication styles in this system. One is structural, and one is figurative. Now, the structural, that's me. I pick my words to mean exactly what I want to say, right? And when you talk to me, I'm going to take you literally. Now, Ralph, you're not structural, you're figurative. Now, you're a radio show host, and so you're good at interviewing people, and words are very important to you. But in the general, just natural scheme of things for you, you're very figurative, which means conveying an emotion is probably a lot more important than just the words you use. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing that happens. So you and I could easily have misunderstandings if we're in a deep conversation because we speak 2 different languages. You're speaking from an emotional point of view. I'm speaking from a strictly kind of very tactical point of view.
Right.
It doesn't mean I can't be emotional, and it doesn't mean you can't speak with clarity, but if we're just relaxing or we're even arguing about something, there's a good chance we could have a miscommunication. And if we have a miscommunication, then one of us has got to go, you know what? I'm not sure I understood what you said. But a lot of people get into relationships, or they're in a work environment, and we just go off speaking the way we normally speak and assuming everyone should understand us because we're speaking with the greatest clarity we think we speak with.
And
right?
then we wonder why the other side is being so obstinate because they don't do what we tell them to do, or they're not understanding what we're saying.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. One time I had clients that were in my office, and they're sitting, I had a good sized sofa, and they're sitting on opposite ends of the sofa, and they're both complaining that the other one doesn't tell them how much they love them. right? Doesn't express love. And I'm listening to one, I'm listening to the other. Now, I'm trained to hear both of these communication styles. And I hear both of them saying in the most beautiful way how much they love their partner. But I also see the other person not hearing it. And finally, I just went, okay, I'm the interpreter. When this person said da 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 da, it meant that they adore you, they love you. And then I would look to the person, I said, is that true? And they go, yeah. And the other person would go, you're kidding. And so this whole time, they're expressing their love for each other, but they're speaking two different languages and they're feeling unloved. Now, there were other things going on as well, but it was like that. Now, here's something, though, that all of us have experienced. Have you ever gotten together with someone or had an important meeting and you meet them for the first time in person, and somewhere within the first 5 or 10 minutes, you find yourself kind of like you really want to talk to them, you really want to get to know them, but you find yourself kind of distracted and looking around, and then eventually you're yawning?
Yeah.
Right?
That does happen.
We all have. Yeah, and we all have. And we have nicknames for these people. We call them energy vampires. Right?
Yep.
Where we get together with someone and they just exhaust us. And we don't know why, but we come to that conclusion because as soon as we leave their company, all of a sudden our energy comes back. And we go, whoa, what was that? At the beginning, we thought, I got a good night's sleep. I had my cup of coffee. I had a workout. I should have plenty of energy, and I'm still yawning. What's going on? And so that's not a person that we typically want to spend more time with. But we may have to because we may work with them. We may have to because we may be married to them. And what's really going on is energetically, there are two different frequencies they're vibrating at. So you and I have two different energetics around communication style. They're two different harmonics, two different frequencies. And the way I can kind of bring it to the real world is imagine, like when you were a kid, did you ever play with magnets and you tried to push them together?
Sure.
And they would repel each other.
Right.
Right. So when there's two different energetic frequencies, they're discordant energy and they're repelling each other. And when those two try to come together and stay together, they literally wear each other down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I went to a meeting and there were 4 people there and I'm the only structural talking style person and you're figurative and the other 2 are figurative, I'm going to be worn out. I mean, depleted. When the meeting's over, I probably have to go take a nap, right? And it may be the most important meeting in the world. And so what do? Do we not get together with those people? No. That's not the solution. The solution is making sure that we are resourceful enough, we have enough energy that when we need to get together with someone who's really important to us, that we can be all there, but that we don't go into stories thinking, oh man, they just drained my energy. I don't know if I can stand another 5 minutes with Ralph. That piece takes us out of the present, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So these are the kind of stories I'm talking about. And in communication, it's like the 2 people on the sofa think their story is, you never listen to me and you never express your love for me. You must not love me. You can't possibly love me because I never hear it.
Right.
And that's their story. And it was the farthest from the truth because they totally loved each other.
Very interesting. Now, on this lifestyle trait, the personal energetic profile, we've actually got 4 on here. So we talked about the communication style, and then the next is the activity level.
Right. So there's 2 different kinds of activity levels. One's moderate active and one's super active. You and I are both moderate active. So we have this conversation on the radio, and this is kind of the speed we talk at. This is a comfortable speed for us. Would you agree?
Right.
Right. Okay. So the super active people that are listening to this are going, geez, I wish those 2 would speak faster, because what they really want to hear is they want to hear me talk like this and tell them everything that's going on as fast as I can and everything that this report means and all the things to do and what they should do with it and how they should do it and by what time the show will be over so they can be done and go on to their next thing. Right. So when I'm talking at that speed, everybody that's super active listening to this show, I can guarantee you that their bodies just made a shift. Mm-hmm. And they probably even got a smile on their face because they're going, oh, thank God he sped up.
And then I'm thinking, oh, man, slow down.
Yeah, you're going, wow, this guy can just go. My daughter's super active. You should hear her go. She talks so fast, I have to ask her sometimes 2 and 3 times to say, what did you say? And she'll say it so fast, and then she'll repeat it again at the same speed. And I'll go, wait, no, that didn't help me at all. I still can't understand you, right? And she goes, I'm saying it 3 times now.
That's funny. That's funny.
So, do I dismiss my daughter and say, I don't want you to be my daughter anymore? No, I can't do that. But although there might be times I want to, but I can't do that, right? And so the key, though, is to be able to embrace and acknowledge and honor those differences. Super active people are the folks that, like, if you ask them, and when I say to them, look, you have to stop yourself from finishing other people's sentences, right? And they all shake their heads. They go, yeah. And they're just being polite, letting us finish. But it's the way it works. And they love structure in their lives as well. From the time their head leaves the pillow in the morning till it gets back on the pillow at night, they love to know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, it kind of drives them a little bonky. In fact, super active people are people that are most often the ones that can go into deep depression when their lives get upset.
Mm-hmm.
See, they have lots of structure in their life and everything's going well. And then when there's a calamity or a trauma, everything stops and they have a hard time getting back into their own lifestyle.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the next thing that happens to them is they're feeling depressed. They go to a doctor and say, I'm really depressed. The doctor gives them antidepressants, which is a downhill spiral, right? And it just gets worse and worse. I can't even tell you the number of times that I've got with a super active person that was either on depressants or heading that way. And I said, all right, we're going to take the next 48 hours and let's plan it out. We're going to plan it out. We're going to figure out all the things that you should be doing for the next 48 hours. And it might even be more intense than it normally is for you, but let's plan it out. And then I want you to follow it exactly. 48 hours later, and by the way, you can't take your antidepressants during this period of time. No more drugs. 48 hours later, they're done with them. And they're back. Because they had forgotten how they like to run their lives.
Right.
But
so
when the
drugs are making them slow down, which is the opposite of what their energy level is supposed to be.
Well, the drugs are making them do a lot of different things. It depends on the antidepressant you're taking, but they either make them slow down or they numb something or another. And what it's doing is it's not allowing them to naturally operate the way they need to operate.
Right.
And the trauma they went through, whether it was their dog getting hit by a car or they lost a relative or a relationship or a job or something, whatever stopped them from their normal course of action, they then can sit back and look at and go, oh my God, I see what was going on here. And for me to deal with it, I need to deal with it as the resourceful person that I am and not the depleted person that I've allowed myself to become.
That's a huge distinction. In the few minutes we have left, I want to make sure we hit these other two because I don't want to leave this conversation wondering what the rest of me is supposed to be like here. So financial logic, what's the two modalities there?
So with financial logic, there is non-conservative and there's conservative. And now this is the one where people's upbringing and their training can sometimes have a big influence. But at the end of the day, it's like this. The non-conservative financial logic person, they really don't like to manage money. In fact, when I work with couples and both of them are non-conservative financial logic, I'll ask them, well, who takes care of the family's, budgets and things like that? And they go, well, he does, but then she does, and neither of us like to do it. And I said, get a bookkeeper, right? Just go get a bookkeeper. It'll be much easier. You guys will have a lot more fun because they don't like to manage finances, but they're what we call rainmakers. Like money just shows up for them. And when I talk to someone who's non-conservative financial logic, they could be broke and they're not the least bit worried.
Right.
And in fact, you're non-conservative financial logic.
Yeah.
So you're the kind of person that I would expect that first of all, by the way, a lot of them are the kind, I used to be able to pick them out in grocery stores easily because they always kept a check register because they didn't keep a check register. They overdrew their bank account. but they're usually ones that have put a lot of money aside. They're more likely to have an IRA or some kind of retirement plan because they don't want to manage their money and they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but really, if a project comes up or something comes up, if they just believe in it, the money for it to succeed shows up. It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the conservative financial logic person, which is me, I have like this built-in genetic connection with money that is good and bad. The good side is I'm really good at managing money. I can do spreadsheets. I can do profit and loss projections, all those kind of things. Not saying I love to do them, but I can do them easily. I kind of have a fiduciary responsibility in money. I'm aware of how much money is around all the time. I know within dollars how much money is in my bank account without having to go online and look at it. I just have a sense for it. Now, the challenge is I can be so dialed down into how much money I'm making that I literally stop the rain from falling, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen worked with a lot of big companies and where the CEOs are conservative financial logic. They should have been worth billions, not a million, or millions, not 100,000. And it's because they were too dialed down on the money.
Interesting.
And so what helps the conservative financial logic person get through that barrier is to focus on the benefits that they're giving to their customers or that providing for those people that they care about and not count the dollars.
Mm-hmm.
When they're counting the dollars, they pretty much close down the bank.
Interesting. And then the final thing here is the sexual response
type.
Yeah. It says mine is physical.
Yours is physical. There's two, physical and mental emotional.
Gotcha.
And this is the area that probably, I'd have to say that this is the most, what's the word I'm after here? I'm having a scotoma. It's the area where there's a lot of beliefs about men are and women are.
I was about to say, is that mostly gender driven or is that not?
It's a great question, and it's not gender driven at all. And that's the belief buster.
Gotcha.
Right? So there's this belief that men, and I don't know how much language I can use here, but men think from their core, right? That they get excited and it's just a physical thing, and that's what they want women. It's physical first, emotions later, right? Mm-hmm. And then belief is women, it's emotions first, physical later. And the reality is it's 50-50. Half the women are physical first, emotions later. And half the men are emotions first, physical later. I'm mental, emotional, sexual response type. I can have a quickie. It's fun. But it would never sustain me in a relationship. And whether you're a male or a female, if you're physical sexual response type, romance and candles and all that kind of stuff is nice, but you don't need any of it. Mm-hmm. And so what we say about physical sexual response type people is that when they're hot, they're hot. And it's never been more pronounced than when I work with women, and that women have been the largest part of my list and the people I've worked with for years and years and years. And so when I meet a physical sexual response type woman and I'm talking to her and I tell her about the mental emotional and how they like all the prelude to sex is so valuable, important, and they go, well, I like that stuff. And I go, well, do you need it? And they go, no, just do me. Right? I actually say something else other than that, but but they do. They just, the key is that when they're ready, they're ready. And here's the statistic that's the most scary, is that from our research over the years, 95% of the relationships where the partners are mismatched for their sexual response type don't succeed unless they understand this.
Interesting.
Because what ends up happening is they don't meet each other's sexual needs and they don't know why. Mm-hmm. And it's a genetic thing. It's not how good a lover you are. It's not, it's not how you talk. It's not going to Om meditation and learning, some new techniques. Those are all valuable. I'm not putting those down at all. In fact, they're very important, but it's more than that. There's an energetic flow. The mental, emotional person, their sexual energy is on the surface. It's visible. You can see it all the time when we're casting people for movies and there's a sex scene. A mental, emotional couple are going to come across so credible. It's amazing. A physical couple, people will just go, that's good acting. right? Because the physical sexual response person, their sexual energy is all held inside. And ideally, they need a partner with the same energetic frequency that kind of has the key to their lock that can open them up and let that sexual energy flow. And understand, sexual energy is life force. Kundalini energy, moving sexual energy through our body is life-giving. If it's not moving, we're depleting our potential for health and wellness.
Very interesting. This is really fascinating. It's the 4 answers how to succeed in love and in life. And I think people listening to this want to know more than just where I fit in to this profile. They want to be able to go and enter their information and find out what their lifestyle traits are, what their personal energetic profile is. How can they get in touch and do that? That's a free thing you offer, right?
Right. Yeah. If you go to the 4 Answers website, and it's 4 spelled out, FOUR, the4answers.com, and you go to the products tab, and in the products tab, there is a product called Personal Energetic Profile. It's free. It's our gift to you.
Wonderful.
Go run the profile. Run the profile on yourself. And there's a bigger report. If you're in a relationship and you want to go deep into it, our romance report is anywhere from 40 to 93 pages long.
Wow.
And it goes into immense detail, not just in describing all the things that I started to talk about. We just kind of scratched the surface with, really. But it talks about the differences and then how to how to navigate those differences. Because remember, what we want to be able to do with anybody in our lives is we want to be able to honor and acknowledge them for our similarities and our differences.
Yes.
We want to be able to respect that and love that, and mostly love ourselves. And so if we have some crappy, terrible story going on that says you did this and you shouldn't have done that, and 6 years ago this happened to me and now I'm not a good lover, or any of those things, it's all BS. None of that is true. What's true is what's happening right now. And if you had an experience or a calamity in the past, it's not now. It's not happening now. And our biggest challenge with a lot of people is they bring everything forward into the present, and they think that that's what's happening now. It's not. It's all make-believe. And it's not to discount an experience someone's had, but it's to say that experience happened in the past. What are you going to do with that information, and how are you going to show up now? Use the good parts of it to support you. Use the parts of it that didn't go so well to become more discerning. That's all.
Yeah.
But allow yourself the full expanse of the divine being that we are. And we have to be able to get to the now, to the present, to do that. And that's the only place where love exists. The rest of it's all constructed. It's all fantasy. And so this is the place this is where our greatest health and vitality exists.
Well, this has been very, very interesting. And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us, Mr. Larry Michael. He is also known as the Love Shepherd. He's the founder of the School of Genetic Energetics, a relationship coach, speaker, producer, author. He works with individuals, couples, families, and businesses to maximize the quality of interaction, creativity, and expression, and ultimately to help people to be their very best and most loving in this very precious present. If you want to find out more and to take that free
personal energetic profile,
personal energetic profile, you can do so at the4answers.com, and we'll have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. So, Larry, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate the time.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.